Karen called the cops on me because I refused to lend her my car. Yeah, you heard that right. She literally dialed 911 because I wouldn't hand over the keys to my brand new Camaro. So picture this: flashing red and blue lights bouncing off my driveway, neighbors peeking through curtains, and Karen, our self-proclaimed HOA queen, screaming at the top of her lungs that I had broken community law. I stood there, arms crossed, watching her implode. And honestly, I couldn't have written a better ending myself. But let's rewind. Because this circus didn't start with the cops. It started with a tray of stale cookies and a woman who thought she ran the world. I moved into Maplewood Springs about 2 years ago. Nice houses, clean lawns, the kind of place where everyone waves but no one really knows each other. I figured it was perfect, quiet, peaceful, predictable. Until I met her. Karen Blake, the HOA president. 50-something, visor glued to her head, clipboard always in hand like it was a weapon. You could hear her sandals before you saw her, the slap, slap, slap of authority coming to check your trash cans. Most people avoided her. You mow your lawn too early. Karen writes you up. You leave your garbage bin out 10 minutes late. Karen sends a warning. She thrived on control. And to be fair, I thought if I kept my head down, I'd be fine. But one day I brought home something she couldn't control, a sleek black Chevrolet Camaro. That car wasn't just a car. It was years of overtime, skipped vacations, nights living off ramen and energy drinks. When I parked it in my driveway, it felt like finally something was mine. I washed it every weekend. The sun hit the paint so perfectly it could blind a bird flying overhead. The very next morning I heard that familiar slap, slap, slap coming down my driveway. Karen stood there squinting at the car like it had personally insulted her. Nice car, she said, smiling the kind of smile that hurts to look at. Hope it doesn't draw too much attention. You know we try to keep things modest here. I just smiled back. Guess we'll see. That was strike one. The next day she showed up again, this time holding a tray of cookies with a price sticker still on the side. Congratulations on your new ride, she said. Then came the real reason she was there. My son's got prom next week. Wouldn't he look amazing showing up in this? You'll lend it to him, right? I laughed. I thought she was joking, but she wasn't. Sorry, Karen, the car's new. I don't lend it out. The look on her face shifted like glass cracking. Nobody says no to me, she snapped, her voice low, sharp. You'll think about it and give me the right answer. She spun around so fast her sandals almost tripped her, and that's when the war began. The first notice came 2 days later, an HOA letter saying I'd violated community spirit guidelines, a $20 daily fine for non-cooperation with HOA initiatives. I stared at it, laughing at how ridiculous it was. Then I started getting more. Fines, warnings, little threats about property liens. Karen was weaponizing her clipboard. I ignored them. I knew the rules. I'd read the HOA charter. None of this was legal, it was just intimidation. Still, the constant letters, the passive-aggressive notes left in my mailbox, they started getting under my skin. Weeks passed. My once quiet street felt like a stage, and I was the main act in Karen's personal drama. She'd march past my house talking loud enough for everyone to hear. Some people just don't respect the community. I tried to stay calm. But one night, sitting in my living room surrounded by envelopes stamped "Violation," I started to doubt myself. Maybe I was causing problems. Maybe if I'd just been nicer, lent her the damn car, this wouldn't have happened. That thought scared me, because it meant she was getting to me. I almost called her, had my phone in hand. But then I looked at one of the letters again with her signature in bold ink, and I remembered that smile, the one that said she thought she owned me. I put the phone down. No way. Instead, I started keeping records. Every letter, every email, every interaction. I wasn't going to fight her on her terms. I was going to let her hang herself with her own rope. Then prom week came. Her son showed up in a rusty minivan. I figured that was it, end of story. But of course not for Karen. A few days later I got another letter, this time claiming I owed several $100s in HOA penalties. I went straight to the HOA office. The other board members looked exhausted. I could tell they were tired of her too, but no one dared say it. Karen ran that place like a dictatorship. That's when I realized the only way she'd stop was if someone made her. A week later, on a quiet afternoon, I heard pounding on my door. Not knocking, pounding. I opened it, and there she was, red visor, low clipboard shaking in her hand. "You think you can ignore me?" she yelled. "You think you can say no to me?" Before I could answer, she whipped out her phone. "Yes, dispatch, I need officers immediately. One of my residents is breaking HOA law and refusing to comply." I just leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. This woman was about to call the cops over a car. 10 minutes later, sirens. Red and blue lights flickering across the houses. I swear half the neighborhood came out just to watch. Karen strutted toward the officers like she'd summoned them from the heavens. Clipboard raised like a sword. "Arrest him," she demanded. "He owes fines. He broke HOA law. He refused to lend my son his car." One officer blinked. The other raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am," the tall one said slowly, "you're saying you called 911 because your neighbor wouldn't lend you his car." Karen's voice cracked. "It's not just that he's been hostile, disrespectful. He defied HOA authority." The officer pinched the bridge of his nose, trying not to laugh. "Ma'am, HOA rules aren't laws. And misuse of emergency services is a serious offense. You could be fined $1,500. You could hear the collective gasp from the neighbors. Cameras came out. Phones were recording. Karen went pale. "You can't do that. I'm the president of this community." The officer looked unimpressed. "This isn't a monarchy, ma'am." That line hit harder than any fine ever could. The officer pulled out his ticket pad and started writing. The sound of the pen scratching the paper was beautiful. Karen made this weird choking noise like a goose stepping on a Lego. Then she turned and stormed off, sandals slapping the pavement as the neighbors burst out laughing. Within hours, the video hit the neighborhood group chat. By the next morning, it was all over social media. People started calling her Clipboard Karen. Someone even made a meme. 2 days later, the HOA held an emergency meeting. I didn't go, but word spread fast. Karen was stripped of her title, removed for abuse of power and damaging the HOA's reputation. Just like that, the self-crowned queen was dethroned. That evening, I stood in my driveway, the sun setting behind my Camaro. For the first time in months, it felt peaceful. No letters, no shouting, no threats. Just quiet. My neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, waved as he passed by. "Glad she's gone, Ethan," he said. "Yeah," I replied. "Me too." I looked at the reflection of the fading sky on the car's hood and thought about everything that happened. How a woman's obsession with control nearly ruined a neighborhood. How easy it is to let power, even a tiny bit of it, twist people. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. Watching her fall was enough. Because here's the truth, some people don't need enemies, they destroy themselves just fine.